Hey boys and girls, welcome back to another day of distance learning. This week we're going to be focusing on comparing and contrasting stories. That means we're going to look at what's the same about them and what's different. Each day we're going to focus on a different skill. Today we're going to be looking at comparing and contrasting genres of books. To study this skill, we're going to be using the books Amazing Grace by Mary Hoffman and Apples to Oregon by Deborah Hopkinson and Mary Carpenter. Please make sure you listen to both stories before you begin to study the skill. And each day I want you to listen to the stories again to think about that specific skill. It's going to be really important that you do this. All right, let's begin. So what are genres? Go ahead and take the next sheet out and I want you to look at it and we're going to study them together. Genres are a type of book. It's like a family of books, and all the books will have a certain quality about them. It's how books are related together. So go ahead and take a minute and look at this sheet called Some Common Genres. You're going to use this today in your assignment. Okay, so first off, there's realistic fiction. These are stories that they're not true stories, but they could be true. And then there's historical fiction. Again, these are not true stories. They could be true, but they usually take place sometime in history. And these stories are usually used to teach you about a historical event or a historical time. Then there's modern fantasy. These stories are they're not true, and they usually have an element that couldn't ever be true in them, like talking animals or characters with superpowers. Thor and the Incredible Hulk is a kind of story like this. Fantasy. These stories usually have magic and magic creatures in them. Harry Potter is a type of fantasy story. Science fiction. These stories take place sometimes in the future, sometimes today, but they have elements of technology that don't exist yet. Iron Man is a type of science fiction, and actually I might put the Incredible Hulk into this category. Then there's mystery, where there's a problem to be solved or some secret to be uncovered. There's folklore. These are like folk tales, and they're usually designed to teach about like how life came to be, or how some part of the world exists the way it does, or to teach a moral character. Myths and legends involved in this. There's poetry. That's where verses are used, and poetry is designed to capture feelings and emotions. Then there's a group of nonfiction books. These are all true. There's an All About book. It's a nonfiction book that's designed to teach you about a topic, and they usually give you a list of facts about that topic. There's nonfiction how-to books. Cookbooks are kind of this. They teach you how to do something, how to play a game, how to solve a problem, and these books usually have a series of steps to complete the task. There's nonfiction issues books. These books take an issue in life, such as bullying, and it'll teach facts about how to deal with that issue. And finally, there's biography. And this is a story about the life of a person, usually written by somebody else. Now, there are others out there as well, other genres, but these are the most common. And now we're going to look at your assignment for today. Now that you've listened to Amazing Grace and Apples to Oregon, I want you to grab this sheet, and it's found online. There's a link to it online. I want you to circle genres on it, and then you're going to compare and contrast the genres of these two stories. In order to do that, you're going to have to figure out what genre is Amazing Grace and what genre is Apples to Oregon. And then in each of these columns, you're going to put in details from the story. What type of genre is found only in Amazing Grace? What element is the same in both of these? And what element is found only in Apples to Oregon? Then down below, you're going to complete this sentence frame. Amazing Grace and Apples to Oregon have similar genres because they both, and you're going to finish that sentence. And then you're going to say Amazing Grace and Apples to Oregon have different genres because Grace has what, but Apples has what. And you can do this all online, and then you just submit your form online. It's a pretty easy day today. Good luck. All right, boys and girls, now that you've studied genres, I want you to, once you finish with this assignment, I want you to go back and I want you to continue reading your chapter books. And I want you to think of what genre your chapter book is and what are the elements in your book that lets you know it's that type of genre. All right, have fun reading.